I'm Neve, and this is In the Know Behind the Screens. Today, we're talking all things brand trips. If you've spent any time online, you have probably seen your favorite influencers going on these luxurious brand-sponsored trips. And today, we're going to be taking a peek behind the curtain. What are these brand trips really about, and why are so many of them stirring up so much conversation in that comment section? To help me today, I'm going to be speaking to Time Magazine reporters Mariah Espada and Moises Mendez II, who are both experts in all things internet culture. Let's go. Hi, Mariah and Moises. Thank you so much for joining me in this conversation for In the Know Behind the Screens. Today, we are diving into all things brand trips. So we're going to start with the basics. I want you to explain it to me like I'm 5. What is a brand trip?
The simplest terms is a mutually beneficial exchange between an influencer and a company. The exchange is luxurious, one-of-a-kind excursions or destinations and trips in exchange for the likeness of that creator, getting involved.
Influencers are walking advertisements, so they know their reach and their followers and what that power is. So they get a lot of engagements. They're getting a lot more reach than, a traditional ad could do.
What are the biggest controversies that you have noticed in this space?
Boys, there are a lot. There has been a bunch of trips. There have been some at Coachella. There have been trips to Turks and Caicos, to Dubai, to Miami, to all these different places where some of them go off without a hitch and there's no problems whatsoever that we know of. But there are a lot of these trips where people are talking about the experiences that they've had. There have been inequality that creators have spoken out against, that they feel that they've encountered unfairness on the basis of race.
And within those criticisms, we're not only just seeing allegations of discrimination, we're also seeing conversations on whether these lavish trips are potentially tone deaf coming out of the pandemic, being in this economic downturn that we're in. We're seeing conversations about the ethics of transparency. Viewers weren't really privy to the behind the scenes of, what's really going on these trips? And the controversy comes from a little bit of a shift in creators being a little bit more candid and, quite frankly, viewers wanting a little bit more insight into what the world of a brand trip is.
I'd love to know what you found out, through your research. When we speak about being candid, what are the things that influencers, in your opinion, should be more candid about?
I guess the treatment on the trips, because a lot of these creators back in the day just made it seem as if it was the perfect trip and there was nothing wrong and I got all these free things and I hung out with my friends and all of that. But I think now we're seeing a lot of TikTokers be more candid about how the experience actually is. It's great to see because, we don't really get to see a lot of creators talk openly about, the negatives more they do than the positives.
Oh, totally. I think it's very, it's very brave. It definitely, I imagine, comes at the expense of one's own job.
And I think that's very admirable to be like, I know I'm going to upset some brands or some people, but I don't want to work with a brand that doesn't want to work with me.
It's also almost encouraged for a creator now to lean into the authentic, right? We're seeing more creators go to Coachella and be like, this is not what you guys think it is. I think that's the same for Brand Trip. I think, creators are seeing also their viewers and their audiences reward them for being brave enough to, speak out on their experiences on brand trips. Authenticity matters, especially in the realm of, influencers branding and their relationship to their audiences. But when it comes to holding brands accountable for that authenticity, I think it's early days and we're going to see whether regulations are a little bit more heavy in that realm.
Given how much mess there is and how many pitfalls brands and influencers can fall down, why do you think that both keep doing them?
I mean, it's a symbiotic relationship. Brands need influencers now because of the online space that we're in, but also influencers need brands to pay them because you can't make money on TikTok. You're not making anything from the creator fund. You're not making anything from anything besides a really good brand partnership.
The brand trip is still, it's worth more than money can buy. There's a social networking to influencing. And if you are invited to these trips, you're also sort of thought of by viewers, by the industry, by your fellow influencer peers as being in a class of influencer. So I think even despite those controversies, you're still seeing the benefits of the newer TikToker getting a seat at one of these brand trips. It's still of value to them.
Moises, Mariah, thank you so much for talking to me about all things brand trips today. I know that I gained a lot of insight. Thank you for letting me pick your brains. Wow, it is fascinating to me that something that we all see so much online actually has so many different layers and angles to explore. If you want to keep up with all things weird and wonderful happening in the world of social media, you know where to find me. Join me next time on In the Know Behind the Screens.